So shaping up to be the most closely fought election since 1992, and with some polls suggesting only a narrow lead for the Conservatives, one possibility looming throughout this campaign will be a hung parliament, when no single party emerges with an overall majority at Westminster. So what would happen next? Our political correspondent Ben Wright has been taking a look.
The head of the civil service is to issue guidelines in the next few days, setting out how a government might be formed in the event of a hung parliament.
Pollsters say it could happen, and the civil service has been primed. For the first time in 36 years, this election could leave the country with a hung parliament. OK, so the election's over, the votes have been counted, but no single party has an overall majority in the House of Commons. What happens next? Well, potentially a fascinating game of political brinkmanship and tactics. A bit like, but not very much like, a game of chess. Think of our chessboard as the House of Commons. At the moment, Labour have got more MPs in the Commons than all the other parties put together. But if there's a hung parliament, no party will be in that position. But Gordon Brown, as the sitting Prime Minister, will have the first shot at trying to form a government. But he doesn't have the majority in the Commons. So what he has to do is persuade some of the other parties to join him, either in a formal coalition or on a sort of bill-by-bill basis, to try and get his Queen's speech through. If Gordon Brown can't concoct a working majority, then the leader of the main opposition party will be invited to become Prime Minister.
We're so used to the removal vans appearing in Downing Street the day after the election, if there's a change of government. And if we have a hung parliament, it may take several days for the political parties to work out who can command confidence in the new parliament.
In March 1974, Ted Heath spent the weekend trying to rustle up a coalition, but failed. It's the memory of minority government and coalition in the 70s that's making the money men in particular pretty nervous.
Well, the fear of a hung parliament is indecision. The concept of having several weeks when we don't have a proper government, we don't know whose policy we're actually going to be operating with, that's what markets really hate.
But many other countries managed to have coalition government without their markets melting down. And in Scotland, there have been 2 coalitions since 1999. The parties are campaigning to win outright, but voters might end up with a search for consensus instead of clarity. And like 1974, that could mean we do this all over again in a few months' time. Ben Wright, BBC News, Westminster.
The rest of the news now, and 2 firefighters killed last night while